Hello everybody, this is me, Sam Kyo from BUKKIT Gaming, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really basic plugin in BUKKIT. Now, BUKKIT is a new Minecraft server mod, which basically allows you to run your own plugins, and it's basically adds the functionality of the Minecraft server. Now, it's relatively new, and at the moment it hasn't got licensing, but we have a little preview of it, and developers can make plugins for it. So today I'm going to teach you how to make a really basic one. I noticed on the forums it tells you how to make one, but not necessarily actually how to code the bulk of it, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, first of all, to get started you need to get Eclipse and BUKKIT. Now BUKKIT is the mod API, and CraftBukkit is the server. So you want to get BUKKIT and Eclipse, and I'm assuming you have the Java installed, because if you don't have Java installed it will not work. Okay, so open up Eclipse. Now this is just what I did before, but if you go to File, New, Java Project, and I'm going to name our project, for the purposes of this tutorial I'm going to call it Basic, and finish. Right, now onto this, we need to import the BUKKIT jar. So here it is on my desktop. This is the latest version at the time, which I'm not quite sure which is, but it's the latest version. So we need to go to Basic, Properties, Add External Jars, which is Java build path, and then we want to click on BUKKIT 0.01 Snapshot. Okay, this basically imports the reference libraries for this, and we can see all the classes for the BUKKIT. Okay, now the difference between HMod is BUKKIT, you have to make a package for this, and the tutorial I'm going to show you today, if anyone remembers the HMod one, it was basically when a torch was placed it relayed a message. I'm going to do the same as that, but you have to enable this via use of a command, which I shall show you. So click on the source, new package, and you want to type in com.bukkit, and then your name, so for the purposes I'm going to use Samkio, and then the name of the project, which is Basic, and this basically creates a package. So now we need to create 3 class files. The first file is the same name as your project. Right, now go to new class, and you want to create a player listener. So I'm going to call this Basic Player Listener, and lastly one for block listener, so Basic Block Listener. And there we have our 3 Java files. So I'm going to start with the first one. I've got it here. Now we need to first of all we just need to import some basic stuff. Now this will vary depending on your thing. You might need to import more, you might not necessarily need to import all of it. So I'm just going to copy this across. I'll put the source up and all the links and whatnot in the description or post. So this just imports all the file, the arrays, the hash map, as well as all the reference libraries from this, so we can see all the BUKKIT server. Yeah, it's all there. It just imports it from the reference libraries, and as it's just having these errors because we haven't actually used them yet. Just for wow, thanks for coming up now. Goodbye. Just for the purposes, we're just gonna add this little bit, which is just a little comment. These tags mean a comment, and it will just basically say that it won't be read by Java, but it's just there when using the source and whatnot. Now we need to change this, and we need to add extends Java plugin. Now we come up with an error with that because we need to add the constructor. Now I'm just going to copy this across because it'd be quicker. but of course I'll put the source in, and this just basically sets all the stuff ready for it. Okay. Still in an error. We still need to add another unimplemented method, which is the on disable and on enable. These are just done for us here, and basically this method will be called when the plugin is enabled, and this plugin method will be enabled when the plugin is disabled. So yeah, I'll go into those later. As you can see, some of these are disappearing because we're using them. Now, things might not become apparent of why I'm putting them in now, but you'll see later on. So I'm just going to add the two listeners. It's quite simply just private final things. They're coming up with errors now, but once we write the code in basic listeners, then they should work. Also, we are going to add a hash map. I'm going to make it a public hash map for the use of knowing when the command is on and off for the player. Hash maps can be used all sorts of things. One of the main uses I use them for is just for listening players which have the command, and then removing them when they've disabled the command. Okay, so I'm just going to start with the on enable one. It's a bit down here, but now this is what is given to you by the method on the wiki, and basically on enable, get this. What is wrong with that? Right, oh, I know what's wrong with that because we haven't done it yet. We're just going to start these two things. There are many of them. These are events which we've registered them. The two ones we're getting at the moment are the player command, which goes to the player listener, and the block placed command, which goes to the block listener. So this happens on enable. Then we're going to make a YML file later, and this will just get the information from this and then print out onto the log. Basically it's been enabled, and then just for purposes we're going to make basic disabled as well on disable. If you're debugging, you can add these commands, not necessarily, but if you are going to add that, then you're going to need the hash map debuggies, which we can add up here. Okay, add two more methods, which will become apparent of why I put them in there later. These two methods are enabled and toggle vision. It's basically if it sees the player or not. Okay, so I'll just go into details of what these do. So now I'm going to make the player listener. This also needs some changes. First of all, it needs to import the things I need, as well as the first one. This changes, so if you want to import more you can, import less, whatever. And we also need to extend the player listener for its class, and add this. These are just necessary things so that it relates back to the first post. First class. And this is the code we're interested about. The on player command. Okay, so I'll briefly explain what this does. Effectively, this method is called whenever the player enters a command, and the event is what they get. So the string, we first of all create a string called split, which is an array, and this basically will split every space there is, it will split it up into sections. An array is just an array of variables. So it will just split up. Say I had big bang, two words. String 0 will be big, and string 1 will be banned because it starts on 0. So this will just get the message and split it up at every space. And we just need to get the player as well, so we know who we're going to talk to. So first of all, we run the command if the first section of the code equals basic. We're ignoring the case as well. These two signs mean or /b for easiness of typing in. Then we run the method on the basic plugin to toggle the vision of player and set the cancelled event to true. So now if we go back here, this is the toggle vision command. The basic player will send the player to this, and then if this player is enabled, if they do have it enabled, then it will remove the player from the hash map and then send them a message saying it's disabled, else it will add them to the hash map. Now this is the command enabled, which will just check the hash map to see if it contains that player. Now lastly, we need to check to see if the user has placed a torch. And first of all, as before, we import all the necessary things which we shall use. So just basic block listener, block places event. These will change, of course, depending on what you're doing. This one needs to extend block listener, and extends, and we just set up this to start with. Of course, as I've said multiple times before, this will be the source code, and I'll fully annotate it for you. So for people not too sure, they can always check. And of course, if you're unsure about whatever I'm doing, please don't hesitate to ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer them, or I'm sure someone else will. Now we're going to add this command, or this method, and this is called whenever a player places a block. So first of all, as before, we got the player. Now the player, we assign the variable player, and we also get the type of block placed, and this just tells you where it's been placed, the location, the type of block, for instance. So we're just going to get the block placed. Now if block.getType, getType is also another method. It just returns the material type of the block, and if it equals the material torch, then this will run. But we also want to check to make sure that the player has enabled the use for this. So we're just going to check to see if the plugin, I'm going to run the method again, which is here, to make sure they are on the hash map. And if they are on the hash map and the block they place is a torch, then that will send them a message saying they have placed a torch. And that's all the commands for the thing. Right, so now I'm going to compile it and test to see if it works. So file, export, jar file, Java jar. You want to select basic, and then you want to save it to wherever. I'm just going to save it to desktop, and then click finish. Yeah, it won't resist. It'll come up with some warnings. These are just basically hash map warnings, nothing to worry about really. Now, before we go and test this plugin, this won't work at the moment. We need to open it with a archiver. My preferred archiver is WinRAR, and we're going to need to add a YML file, which I already stated before. So we're going to make a YML file. So right click, new, actually open notepad. I'm going to call it plugin. Oops, my bad. Right, you going to need to put this. So name basic, which is the name of version of our plugin. then the version we're running, which is 1.0, and then this is our package directory. So com.bukkit.samq basic, and then what class file we want to run first. So basic in this case. Let's save that to the desktop. All files, plugin dot whitener, save. Now just drag that across and press OK, and there we are. Our jar file is ready for shipping. Just to prove it, I'm going to open up Bukkit server, copy, paste it in the plugins, and then we're going to run server. This is the latest graph bucket, and if it always works, it should say basic version 1.0 is enabled. Start up Minecraft. Let's hope it logs in on time. Hello, welcome back. Skip that bit probably when I make it, and now I'm going to show you how to start. This is just a random map I have. So now, if I place a torch, nothing happens. Now I've got an infinite torch. Now if I type in basic has been enabled. Now whenever I place a torch, it should say, if it all goes well, you placed a torch, which I have. And you see every time I do it, it works. And I can also turn this off using B or basic again, just to show you. I think right. I can enable it again, and amazing, it all works. Okay, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all those general stuff. Hope you liked it, hope you learnt a lot. Hope to see you good clothing. And remember, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, or go on the forums. I'm sure someone will be willing to help you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.